Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to How Did They Do That Live, the April edition. Today we're talking about student research resources, and that is a mouthful, don't say that 5 times fast. And we have a really great lineup for you today of presenters. And so on this slide here, we'll just see our agenda. We have 4 great presenters that we're going to hear from. Due to some technical issues, we're just going to kind of shift the order just a little bit. So up first, we're going to hear from Jessica Geis and Laura Farrell. And they're both from the Stanislaus County Library, and they're going to be sharing some of the virtual resources available to students for research purposes and some of the other things they have access to. After we hear from our Stanislaus County librarian, we will hear from a local librarian. We'll hear from Claire Barros. And unfortunately, Claire is an ESS teacher, so she's busy working hard right now. But she did make a lovely video for us, sharing all of the resources that our students have access to through the local school libraries. Then at that point, hopefully Laurel will have resolved her issues, and then we'll hear from Laurel Green. She'll be at the state county library level, or sorry, state county. She'll be at the state library level. So we're kind of hearing from 3 different levels of presenters today. We've got the state, down to the county, down to the school level. And then just to kind of put a bow on everything, Matthew Ketchum will kind of round out the presentation. And he's going to just share where we can find all these different great resources and just kind of go over that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our first presentation, Jessica Geis and Laura Farrell.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Farrell. I'm with the Stanislaus County Library. While I'm doing my part of the presentation, I am going to keep my camera off just because my internet has been a little spotty lately, and I know this helps me not get booted out as easily. Like I said, my name is Laura. I am the marketing and outreach coordinator for the Stanislaus County Library. And if you go to the next slide here, you'll see I am joined with Jessica Geis, one of our awesome regional children's librarians. And next slide. So for the purposes of today's presentation, when we say e-resources, we really mean those electronic resources that are available as free apps that allow you to check out digital copies of books, movies, and more from your library. These are fun, easy to use apps that allow you to access library materials from home or wherever you have internet access. We also offer a variety of databases, which are listed under the e-resources section of our website. But because we offer such a wide number of databases that have, a whole host and wealth of information, we can do an entire presentation just on databases. So we won't be going into too much detail on those today, but we will highlight a few towards the end. Next slide, please. So the e-resources apps are free to use, and they're available for iOS and Android devices. You can find specifications for the app's availability on specific e-readers and devices on our each platform's page on our website, which is stanislauslibrary.org. You'll see it a couple of times in this presentation. And they're all listed, as I said, under that e-resources tab. All the apps are free to download, free to use, as long as you have a Stanislaus County Library card. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do you get a library card? Because you need a library card to access these great resources. The fastest way to do that would be to apply for a digital services library card, which you can do at stanislauslibrary.org. And you will find that link under the About Us section, Apply for a Card. The application, you just fill it out on our website and allow 48 to 72 hours for processing. And then when your card is ready, your information will be emailed to you or shared with you via phone. And your first new library card is always free. Next slide, please. Okay, so back to e-resources. Why use them? Why are they special? Next slide. Well, the first thing is that they're available 24/7 wherever you are, wherever you have internet or internet data. You can check out an ebook. You can, download an audiobook, listen to a music album, no matter the time of day. So it really makes the library available to you whenever you need the library. Many of the apps give you an option to download an item while on Wi-Fi and access it offline later. You also never accrue late fees with e-resources. Next slide. Thank you. And because the items that do have due dates, they will just return automatically. So you never have to worry about whether you have, brought something back to the library with this. It just goes away, and it makes it really, really easy for those of us who have a million things going on. Next slide. And the other really nice thing is that they are not just available as apps. They are accessible online from a PC or Mac computer. So if you don't have a tablet or a smartphone, as long as you have a computer with internet access, you can go on a browser, you can access all of our e-resources online. You just go to stanislauslibrary.org and follow the pathways on each e-resources page. Okay, next slide. So first one we want to talk about today is Cloud Library. If you are like me and you love to read, or sometimes you find yourself on a Sunday when the library is closed in desperate need of something to read or an audiobook to listen to, this app has you covered. Once you download the app, all you need to sign up is your Stanislaus County Library card number and your PIN, which is the last 4 digits of the phone number that is associated with your library card account. Next slide. So as I mentioned, this offers books and audiobooks for all ages. You can check out up to 3 items at a time and place up to 5 items on hold. And there's a lot of different browsing features, sorting by language, by genre, by age. So this is a really fun one to play around with and find your next favorite read. Okay. And with that, I'm going to say next slide and turn it over to Jessica.
All right, so our next one is Hoopla. And Hoopla does have books just like Cloud Library does, but also has a whole lot more. With Hoopla, you can listen to music, books,
Hey,
audiobooks.
Jessica?
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Would you mind turning off your camera? Your audio is coming through just kind of a little bit warbly, and I'm thinking your camera might be affecting that. Thank you.
Any better?
A little bit better.
Let me try something else here too. Sorry about this. Do I sound any better?
Much better. There we go.
Okay, great. Okay, so sorry about that. So Hoopla. So Hoopla Digital, it kind of sounds like a party, and in many ways it is. It's your library party in app form. So Hoopla has books, but it also has music, it has movies, it has audiobooks, it has a little bit of everything. So to sign up, all you need is that library card and your PIN, which Laura said is the last 4 digits of the phone number associated with your library account, and you will also need an email address for Hoopla. You can check out up to 5 items per month on Hoopla. And next slide. So with Hoopla, you can stream movies and TV episodes. Video checks out for 3 days, unless it's a Paramount Picture film, which only checks out for 2 days. And music fans can enjoy checkouts of complete music albums, and music albums check out for 1 week. A note here with TV is TV checks out per episode. So just as a reminder, you get 5 items per month, so you can go through those 5 items really quickly if you're watching TV episodes. And next slide. All right, so Hoopla also has all the books. And what we mean by this, it has all sorts of different formats of books. So whether you like to listen to your books as audiobooks or read them as ebooks, or you're a fan of the graphic novel or comic genre, Hoopla has it. Audiobooks and ebooks and graphic novels check out for 3 weeks. You can browse by genre and a variety of categories such as adapted to film, the New York Times bestseller, or just added. And you can sort titles by the release date, their title, their relevance, the date they were added, and the user rating that they received. And you also have the option to filter by language as well. Okay, and next slide. All right, so we also have a couple more e-resources that I'm going to really quickly go over because these ones unfortunately have an expiration date of June 30th of this year. The first one is Libby, and this is our current e-magazine, digital magazine app. So we have over 3,200 titles of magazines that you can check out on Libby. We will be replacing Libby with a different digital magazine app after June 30th. So if you are you'd like to read digital magazines, we encourage you to take a look at Libby, and then we will be marketing it on our website on stanislaslibrary.org after that June 30th on which app we're going to go with after our time with Libby has expired. And next slide. All right, and the last one is Transparent Language. And this is a language learning app that we subscribe to. You can learn over 100 different languages on this app, and 32 are ESL languages as well. So this is a great resource. Unfortunately, this one also has the expiration date of June 30th, but in the meantime, if you want to play around with Transparent Language, I do encourage you to do so. All right, and next slide. So really quickly, we want to go over databases because we know that they're a great resource for your students. So how can you access library databases? There's a couple different ways. One is to go into the library and use them there. But most of the time, we want to use databases when we're at home. So they are free to use the Stanislaus County Library card number. So once you have that, you can go from your home computer, visit our website, which is the stanislaslibrary.org. And up on the bar, you'll see on the screen there is e-resources. This is where Laura also said that you can find all the pages for the e-resources we covered today, but you also find databases there. So you can go to databases and select which one you would like. That will take you to a new window where it will prompt you to enter in your Stanislaus County Library card number. All right, next slide. So I just picked a few databases to cover today. I do encourage you to look at all the databases we offer because we offer quite a few. But I was going to start with Biography Resource Center. So this is a great resource to get some biographical information. So if you're looking for someone past or present, this is a great resource to start with. So if you need information about a famous scientist or a singer, this is the database for you. And next slide. Next on the list is Explora. So this is a great database. It says middle school on the slide, but it actually has all sorts of designations. There's a middle school Explorer, an elementary Explorer, and a high school Explorer. This is a database that I use kind of as like a first start for when you're doing a research project. It has a little bit of everything. So it has topics like history, science, literature, world culture, technology, geography. So it's really a great place to start doing your research, and it'll lead you to more resources down the road. And next slide. All right, and this one is probably my favorite database, and it's our Novelist K8 Plus. So if you're looking for a good book to read, or you have required reading, but you're not sure how to choose what book, this is the database that can help. Novelist K8 Plus will provide recommended reads based on categories such as the age, the genre, the type, etc. So you can find a great graphic novel or a science fiction book in just a few easy clicks. And there's both fiction and nonfiction titles listed in Novelist K8 Plus. And my favorite feature is the read-alike feature. So if you have a student that you have recommended all the books you can when they really, really love their favorite book, you can go to Novelist and take a look at what books other librarians around the nation have added to Novelist as read-alikes for that title. So it's a great way to kind of expand and broaden your horizons when, we can't read everything in the library, but luckily we have other ways to pull great reads through Novelist. And this is Novelist K-8, but we also do have Novelist, which also includes some high school, teen, and adult reads as well. So take a look for that. And next slide. All right, and that concludes our presentation. I don't know if any questions came in, and we'll be around for the rest of the presentation too, so feel free to give us any questions you want. And our next slide real quick. Perfect. So that is a great way to get a hold of us. It's the childrens@stanlibrary.org. This goes to all of our children's librarians, so one of us will be very happy to help you with any of your questions about student research.
Thank you, Jessica and Laura. Just a quick reminder to our audience, because I know that was a lot of resources back to back to back. We will be sending out the slide deck to you guys, so you'll get a copy of everything that was shared here. And then just to reiterate, or I guess to verify, this is all available to students for free, right?
Yes. All they would have to do is get a library card, which is free. As Laura said, you can either do it through our website and get a digital access library card emailed to you, or if they're able, they can come into their local library and get a library card that way as well.
Awesome, thank you. Well, thank you. And as they said, they're here throughout the rest of the presentation, so if I don't see any questions coming in right now, but if you guys do have any questions you think of later, feel free to post them, and they'll keep an eye on the Q&A. Up next, we do have Claire Barros, and I just want to go ahead and reshare my screen really quickly because I had an audio issue, so I want to make sure this audio comes through nice and clearly here. So just one moment, I'm going to go ahead and reshare that screen there. And as I said, unfortunately, Claire couldn't be with us today. She's got some teaching stuff that she's attending to, but she did make us a lovely video. So we're going to go ahead and watch that video. Feel free again to post any questions in the chat, in the Q&A, post any questions there, and we'll answer them as we can. All right, so we'll go ahead and we will hear from Claire.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Barros, and I'm the librarian at Davis High School. I'm going to share some information with you today about the databases that we subscribe to as a district at the secondary level. I'm so sorry if you're at the elementary level. These resources are not available to you and your students. Hopefully another presenter this hour, though, did share our other library databases that are available at the elementary level. So as educators, we know that the research process can be complex and it can be a challenge to teach that process to students. I'm here to tell you as a site librarian, though, that I'm here to help support you, and your site librarian is there to help support you at any step along the way that you need. So depending on the level that you teach, you may need to build scaffolds in at every single step. Well, you do not have to do it alone. Your site librarian is a research expert, and we can help support you with whatever you need. I've worked with teachers who'd like my help throughout the entire process, right? Helping their students decide on a topic all the way through the actual presentation of the research. Whereas most teachers come in for steps 3 and 4. They'd like their students to find some sources, they'd like their students to vet some sources, and they want some assistance with that. And your librarian is your expert in that area. So reasons to use a library database. Well, number one, it's accessible to everyone, and we subscribe to it as a district. There's no pesky paywalls or anything. You can be sure that the database will have reliable resources that contain traceable sources. Everything's been vetted. It's also curated in a way that the open web simply just isn't, right? The open web can be overwhelming for students if they go to Google just to start some general research. Sure, they can find some really good stuff, but of course, as we all know, what they'll find mostly is not applicable to the task at hand. So it's curated, the library database, and it can help focus students. Finally, the biggest reason why I think we encourage students to use the library database is because of its ease of use. It has tools built in that really help support students in this research process. So as a district, we subscribe to 3 of the Gale databases: eBooks, Gale in Context, and Opposing Viewpoints. Now, I do want to mention that other sites may subscribe to other databases, such as Science in Context and Literature in Context. Please reach out to your site librarian for more information about what's available at your school. So eBooks is first. This is basically like an extension of the print library. So this is going to have reference materials such as encyclopedias, law resources, as you can see here. Something that's exciting that will be starting in fall for all of the high schools, your high school may already have it, is Cameron's Collection, which is a social emotional collection full of resources for students that deal with a plethora of issues ranging, from anxiety and stress to dealing with your parents' divorce. So that's Gale eBooks. Opposing Viewpoints is our more specialized database. So this database focuses on topics that have more than one viewpoint. So it's a great database to send students to if you're having them engage in a debate or write an argumentative essay. Gale in Context, also known as Research in Context and High School in Context, this is the database that's our general database. Here you'll find a range of topics. It's not as specialized as Opposing Viewpoints, so anything and everything you're looking for can be found in Research in Context, and that's the one I'm going to demo for you in just a minute. So like I mentioned earlier, a big reason why we encourage students to use the library database is the ease of use. And the big reason why it's so easy to use is because there's all these amazing tools that Gale has built in that I'm going to demo for you, including sign into Google and accessibility features like language translation and text-to-speech. So how do we locate these resources? Many sites have the database links on the app portal. However, the best place to go and find your site-specific database links will be your site's library website. So check with your site librarian to see where they house their links. I've also provided them at the end of this, the slides that will be shared with you. You have access to them there as well. So this is the Davis High School Library webpage. And you'll see that I have icons for all of the different databases, the 3 that I just talked to you about, the Gale ones, as well as the other databases that are available at our site. Towards the bottom here, you'll notice that I include login information if you're off campus. So if you're on campus, you're IP authenticated, you're automatically logged into Gale when you're on campus. If you're off campus, due to our licensing agreement with Gale, you need to use a remote password. And those passwords can be found on the library websites of your school. So we're going to look at Research in Context, High School in Context. This is the home page of Gale in Context. Towards the top left here, you'll see the site that you're currently logged into. Towards the right here, you'll see that you have options to sign in with Google and Microsoft. I've signed in with Google. You have an option up here at the top to change the language interface. You can also translate the articles, and I'll show you that in a minute. The basic search bar is here, although you also have access to advanced search. And advanced search, you'll have a plethora of different options to narrow down your results depending on what you and your students need. So we have our and or search terms here. You can narrow down your results to the type of document or the type of content available. And maybe most importantly to mention to you teachers is that you can also narrow your search results by Lexile. So if you are looking for resources for your students, this may be a good way to help find sources that are accessible to your students' reading level. So if you go back to the home page here, I want to point out a couple other elements. the carousel is constantly being updated depending on what's going on and what's current. So that is always changing. Below the carousel, we have our topics, of which there are over 1,000. And there are more than 1,000 subjects covered in the database, but Gale Research in Context is over 1,000 topic pages, which just means that there's an overview page. And actually, we can take a look at one together here. So if I select George Washington, it will take us to the overview page for George Washington. We'll see an image, a kind of summary, a blurb, and some quick facts, as well as a breakdown of what's on this page. So Gale automatically, whenever you perform a search, organizes the results based on the type of document. So we have reference, texts, we have biographies, we have primary sources, we have videos, images, we have audio, as well as our traditional magazine and news articles. So if I were to select one of these, I'm going to go up to the featured content. This is content that Gale has specifically highlighted. I'm going to choose an article here from NPR, Separating Man from Myth. So you can see what an article looks like. So from this page, there's a few different features that I'd like to point out. First is accessibility. So if your students prefer to read in a language other than English, they can translate this article into over 40 different languages. As I showed you earlier, they can also always change the interface of the database as well. So when you translate the article, will just be the content of the article that's translated, not the additional interface that's surrounding it. So your students have the option to change both. So maybe you have a student who's more comfortable navigating in Spanish, but you'd like them to practice, reading and accessing the articles in English, so they can actually do that. You can have it set in both ways. In addition to the translation, you also have the ability to increase your font size, and you can also listen to the text as well. If you just select listen from here, it'll read from the top, from the title, or you can actually highlight the paragraph that you'd like to listen to and then select listen. It's a fairly robotic voice. It's not anything that's incredibly human sounding, but it is another tool that can help students who are maybe more auditory learners. Because I've signed in with Google, I can also share this article. I can send it to my Google Drive. If I signed up with Microsoft, I could send it to my OneDrive. Can also email it, download it, print it. If I'm looking for articles about this same topic, I actually have some related articles here for me. As I scroll down through or past the article here, I have our citation tool, all the different APA MLA that you'd maybe need. You can export the citation. And then again, at the bottom, you're able to review related articles. So the great thing about Gale is that once you find one article that will work for your research project or paper, you'll most likely be pointed to another article that can help further your research and learning. One more thing I'd like to highlight is the Highlight and Notes tool. So I'm going to decrease the font size a little bit. And it depends on how you have students, of course, conduct their research, but this highlight tool can really be utilized in a few different ways. If you'd like your students to go through and maybe you want them to find vocabulary terms, you could have them highlight them in a specific color. If you want them to go through and you need them to find quotes, they can be highlighted another color. Of course, the colors don't always have to matter, but I will show you why in just a minute. So students just select the text that they'd like, oh, this is a very important part, let me highlight that. They can even annotate that note if they needed to, if they accidentally selected something that they'd like to get rid of. They can also do that by clicking on the highlight and then the trash can and delete again. So once you have kind of a collection of highlights here, go back up to the top and click Highlights and Notes, and then view all. And it will actually compile all of the different highlights and notes that you've taken across different articles, and it will collect them here. It's actually given me the title of the article that I took my notes from, the notes, and it even started a bibliography for me. So this is maybe a tool that you can have students use when they're conducting their research. They can highlight as they go, not worrying that they'll forget which article it came from. Gale keeps track of that for you. There's so much more to explore for Gale, but this is really, all the time that I have with you today. Do want to highlight the educator resources at the bottom here. There's one for each of the databases that Gale has, not for eBooks, but for the other databases. So I've actually linked the two here on the slides for you. Check with your site librarian. If your site subscribes to other databases, there may be resources for those as well. But of course, your most valuable resource is going to be your site librarian. Please reach out to us. We are here to help support you and your students, whether it's with your research project or anything else that's relating to literacy. We're here for you. Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you to Claire for recording that for us. It's a shame she couldn't be here, but as you can see, she shared, we have quite a few databases available in the district to our students. And as you can see, she kind of did a deep dive on Gale, and I imagine all the other databases are just as deep. So definitely reach out to your local librarian at your school site, see, what databases you have access to. The librarians are listed here on the slides. You will again be getting a copy of these slide decks. Matthew, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Alexandra. So welcome everybody. My name is Matthew Ketchum, Director of Educational Technology, and I wanted to share with you all how to get to some of these wonderful resources that we've seen presented already. So next slide. So in the wonderful MCS app portal, we do have, once you log into the MCS app portal, there is a folder. You might have to kind of look at all your different apps, but there is a folder called Library Database. And within that folder, when you click on it, you will see the library apps that are available by your school site. So you just heard from the librarian, Claire, mention that different grade levels and different sites have different library resources. So what you're seeing here is from a high school library database folder that's in the MCS app portal. So K6, you might see a couple of different apps in there. Middle school might see a couple of different ones. But you'll see what's assigned to your school site or your grade level for the library databases. Another great way that you can find this is in the MCS app portal. Right at the top is the search. And if you just type the word library, you will get to the library database folder with all these apps in it as well. So that's a great way to access them for teachers and for students, a quick way to access. Next slide. The other way, as you just heard from Claire, is from the school site's library website as well. So school sites, as you can see in this picture, right at the top, they'll have the tabs school or students, and it's usually under the school tab. Once you click on it, and you'll see a menu, and it usually will list the Library Learning Center. And then once you click on that, you'll see like the school site's webpage for the library. And usually on that page, as you can see highlighted here on the right-hand side, under that heading Files and Links, is a link to the librarian's webpage for that school site. Go in and click Next. Oh, I'm sorry. on those web pages are the resources as well for that school site. And each school site librarian has customized their web page. Different sites have purchased additional library resources for their school site as well. And I would just share, as a teacher, I reached out to my school site librarian to have training for my students on using these database resources to help them do their research for different assignments that I would have. So I definitely encourage educators, reach out to your site librarian. They do some amazing workshops. They came and work with your students on their research projects. And I know I found a lot of value in that as a teacher. And I would encourage making that connection. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you, Matthew. Great kind of recap of where to find these resources. And the question came in, if we don't have a site librarian, who can we reach out to for questions about the site resources? I would definitely encourage checking out your app portal and seeing what you have available to you under there for library resources. Or as Matthew highlighted, you can also check out your school website. There should be a library learning center there, and you can learn all about the resources there. I do see one teacher specifically is from MoHi. I do believe MoHi does have a librarian, although you might be in between them right now. But you should have a dedicated site librarian who could show you that as well. And Laurel is going to make a recording for us and send that out to me, and I will definitely include that in the follow-up email.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for the California K-12 Online Content Project for Britannica School and Escolar. My name is Laurel Green. I am one of the education consultants for Britannica. Here is my email address. And then if you have any questions about technical support, you can also reach us at edsupport@eb.com. And I'm going to be talking about several of the resources that you have through the California Online Content Project. This is your tax dollars at work. This is Prop 98 funded. It is a 5-year project that will be wrapping up in 2023. And also this provides resources for every public K-12 school, and involves resources not just from Britannica, but also teaching books and ProQuest as well. But I'm going to be talking with you about the two resources that you have with Britannica, Britannica School and Escolar. And Britannica School is a resource that provides you over 145,000 encyclopedia articles across 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high. It provides you downloadable photos and videos. The articles are correlated to the standards. It has over 24,000 primary source documents that can be found at the middle and high school level. It has an interactive world atlas, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and you can use this on any type of device that you may need to use it with. Our second resource is Britannica Escolar, which is our Spanish language resource for native speakers, bilingual students, and students learning Spanish. This has 2 distinct levels of content, an elementary and a middle. And similar to Britannica School, it has articles, images, videos, and maps. Both resources, you can create a personal My Britannica account so you can save, organize, and share collections of content. This one also has the World Atlas, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and you can use it on any device that you may need to use. So without ado, I'm going to go ahead into school.eb.com so we can take a look at Britannica School as a resource. And when you go to the home page, you'll see that you can easily go into the elementary, middle, or high school home pages. You can also click on the little carrots here to be able to do a keyword search from any of the 3 levels. We're going to go ahead and do one from the middle school level. Let's go ahead and put it in for California. So as you can see, as I put in my search, it's going to give me different options that I can click on to go directly into those resources. But if I click on the magnifying glass, it'll take me directly into the resource. And I can see all the information that's available to me here. Some things that are important to know is you'll see this reading level up here at the top. What this means is that I'm looking at it at the middle school level, but I can look at all the content from the 3 different age levels. But just a click of my mouse, I can look at the high school or the elementary if I need to. And then underneath that, you'll see all the different content types that are available related to your keyword search. We have articles as our default beginning one. We'll come back and take a look at that here in a second. I'm going to take you through the rest of the features as well, including our images. Things that are good to know about the images within Britannica School and Escolar is they're all rights cleared for non-commercial use. So you can feel confident using these in a project or a presentation. If you go into the sharing options here, you'll see some of the things that you'll be able to do with our images. We have different options to be able to share them through, either a direct link. We also have direct integrations with Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. You can save this, print it, and we also have automatic citations for all of our articles, images, and videos. You just have to select the citation style that you want to use, and then it will generate that information for you to copy and paste. And then you can, of course, increase and decrease font size as you need to. In our video section, a couple things that I like to highlight for people on that is that you are able to use the videos with also to see the entire video transcript that's provided for you. So you have that below the video. And then all the same icons that I was showing you with the images, but just a couple things I like to highlight as well. You can also download these videos. So if you want to put them into a slide deck or a project, you can. And then we have accommodations of closed captioning and audio descriptions provided for all of our videos as well. If you go into the More section, that's where you'll see the rest of the options that are available, including our dictionary provided by our sister company, Merriam-Webster. Here you can see the definition of words, here the pronunciation. When we get into the article, I'm going to show you how you can use that dictionary in a really helpful way to support students in understanding the content of the articles as well. But we also have magazines and journal articles provided by EBSCO. So these are additional resources related to your keyword search that you can take a look at, as well as Web's Best Sites, which are sites that our editorial department have viewed and recommend as safe sites for you to be able to go and explore. So if you're looking for resources outside of Britannica School, this can be a great place to take your students to start in that way. And then we also do have those primary sources and ebooks. So related to your keyword searches, there's also things like entire works of Shakespeare are here if you do a keyword search on those, or entire works of Jane Austen, or a primary source document of like Einstein talking about the atomic bomb, sending a letter to the president. So there's all sorts of great resources in that primary source ebook for you to explore as well. But if you go into the article, there's a couple of things I do want to highlight for you. You can do an advanced search and do keyword searches and look for things specific, but you can also turn on Lexile filtering if you need to by selecting your Lexile range. And then what it will do is it will provide the Lexile measure next to the article for you and also filter based on the range that you've selected. You can easily turn that feature off by just clicking on the little X here, and that'll take that off. But let's go ahead and dive into the article and talk about some of the features that are there. Within the article, there are things to be able to support students as they're reading through the content. And one of them is what we call that quick click dictionary. So when students are reading, maybe they come to the word, for example, vegetation, and they're unsure about that word. They can double click on the word and they'll be able to get the definition, hear the pronunciation.
Vegetation.
And also get the Spanish translation of that word, which can be helpful for any students who are primarily Spanish speakers learning English as a second language. This is a great way to be able to support them as well. And then we have those icons up at the top here to support as well. A lot of these are similar to what I was showing you with our images and videos to be able to share, print, get those automatic citations. But these here are unique to the article. You can translate articles into about 80 different languages using Google Translate. So you would select the language that you want to use, for example, Arabic, and it would translate the article for you using a computer-based translator. So this can be a great way to support students if they're working at home with family members or a guardian and need that extra support in that way, or want to share what they're learning about in school. And they can easily turn this feature off. There's a little bar that pops up when you activate it, and you just exit and it'll translate it back into English for you. You can also have the articles read aloud by listening to it. So I'm going to play that for you here.
Introduction. Virtually every kind of climate, landform, vegetation, and animal life that can be found anywhere.
So as you can see, it reads it aloud for you and it highlights per sentence. So it's a great way to help students to work on reading fluency, or for those students who maybe are more auditory learners and prefer that option. And then you can, of course, increase and decrease font size based on your preference. And then the last thing I want to highlight for you within the articles, you will see that we have this reading level here, similar to what I was showing you before with our search results. You can easily look at the all three levels. So if you're reading a middle school and you want a little bit more of a challenge, with a click of the mouse, I can access the high school level text. But similarly, maybe I'm struggling with the content, I can go down and view the elementary level and adjust that text level complexity. What's important to know about this, though, is what I want you to see is, especially if you're at the middle or high school level, it will stay in the age group that you're doing the search. I'm going to open up another window, and I'm going to go back into Britannica School, and I'm going to do the same search at the elementary level here, just to give you a comparison. And here you can see it is designed with that elementary student in mind. It is brightly colored. It's a little bit more fanciful for that age group in terms of its design, but also the information is chunked so as not to overwhelm our younger readers. And that read aloud is a little bit more prominently displayed. And so if you're doing the search at the elementary level, this is what the elementary article looks like. But if you're a middle or high school student, you're going to get a different look. It's going to match sort of the web design of the age group that you're looking in. So sort of considering that social emotional component for the students as well. And then what I'm going to do is give you a little just a highlight of some of the homepage features that are here. Each homepage is designed with that age group in mind, but each one also has some key things that are important to know about. For example, we have an Explore Britannica section, which can be great for students trying to look at different topics that are of interest, or maybe they're trying to figure out something they want to do for a research report. So let's take a look at the images and video browse to give you a sense of what that looks like. So here you would select what you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in sports and hobbies. And then you can choose to narrow your search results. Maybe I'm interested in team sports. Maybe I'm interested in basketball, and it'll bring up all of the images and videos related to that. Or I could do that same sort of search and pull up the articles with the article browse. And then our biography section is alphabetical at the elementary level. At the middle and high school level, it's going to have some more filter results and options for you to choose so you can really find what you're looking for at that level. We also have our Britannica Fundamentals at the elementary section. That is our new interactive learning experience for our youngest ones for K through 2nd grade that reinforces language, geography, mathematics, and literacy skills while also helping to build digital literacy. And there are these 4 different paths that they can go into. We have a read section that has animated ebooks to introduce young learners to fundamental concepts like telling time or exploring shapes. We have our Explore section, which helps students to explore videos about different biomes and their characteristics. And we have a play area that has interactive games that hone early literacy and math skills. And then our last section, we do have a section to create where students can illustrate maybe a concept that they're learning or working on or something that they've been studying while they're exploring Britannica School. And then, of course, at the elementary level, usually the first research report is on animals. And so we have an Animal Kingdom browse section that goes by animal type, or you can go into all the animal kingdom and explore by habitat. And then across all 3 of our home pages, we do have a geography section. So you can go in and do an exploration of the world, the United States, and even do some other activities as well. I love the World Atlas. It is basically Google Maps paired with Britannica content. So if I do something like I want to go to Pompeii, it will zoom in on that part of the country, the world for me and that country, but it will also pair Britannica content with that country that I'm looking at. So I can get a summary of that country, profile, and related articles related to it. But I can also take this into satellite view. I can zoom in on an area that I'm interested in. And I can choose to grab my little orange person, drop them wherever I might be interested, and I'll be able to take virtual tours of different parts of the world. So this is great for studying a setting of a novel, looking at a place in history, and you have the entire world at your fingertips to be able to use and take on these virtual field trips. Then comparison, I want to do a comparison, take you into the high school homepage to give you a little bit of a sense of how that looks. Once again, each one is focusing on the age group and things that might be of interest to them. But there's a few things I want to highlight that are a little bit different here at the high school section for you. One is we do have an area that highlights some of our primary source documents, but also we have a section for our new and revised articles. And so if you go into this section, you can see what new articles have been updated or new content that may have been added. We tend to do about 1,200 or more content updates to Britannica School every month. And so here is where you can see that at the middle and high school home pages as well. And then a couple other things I want to highlight for you is if you go into the student section at the middle or high school level, you will have access to our Ready for Research e-guide, which has all the steps to walk you through a research project, but then it also has some directions, guiding you through it and examples. And then after it sort of gives you those examples, it has places with an editable PDF where you can then go in and fill it out and do it yourself to support you through the beginning and end of the research process. So that can be a really great resource for students to have that's within Britannica School. The other thing I want to highlight for you is creating that My Britannica account. If you sign into a personal account, you can sign in with a single sign-on with Google, you can create an account with us, or if you do use something like a Clever or Canvas, we also have single sign-on integrations with those. But when you sign into that, what can be really helpful, and I'm going to show you here as I signed into mine, is you can favorite content, but then you can organize those into a thing we call resource packs. And what's really great about resource packs is for educators, it can be a way to organize content to be able to share with students. And for students, it can be a great way to organize their content as they're working on a research project. So let me show you my resource pack, for example, on democracy to give you a little bit of a sense. But what's nice about it is when you add content and favorite and put it into your resource pack, you can go in and add individual notes. As you can see here, for example, I want maybe to have my students read the section on Athenian democracy in ancient Greece article, but maybe I don't want them to read the entire article. This can kind of guide them in that way. So you can put key questions or various things that you want them to know about each different piece that you're wanting to share within your resource pack, or students can use it as a note-taking to remind them why they want to use those different content pieces. You can also go in and edit your pack. And if you go into that edit section, what that's going to allow you to do is be able to rearrange the content. So you can choose to curate the way that you want your students to see the content within this resource pack. But also at the bottom, you'll have the option to be able to upload a document. So you can put in something like a lesson plan, an assignment rubric, or even a graphic organizer and be able to put that in there. So then when you're all done and you saved your resource pack and you're ready to share it with somebody else, you can easily get a link. And then what that will be is instead of having a link for your article, your image, your video, your primary source document, you have one link with all of your notes that you've put in with it or any graphic organizers, and be able to share that one link out to your students and give them a curated experience of some of the things that you're wanting to share on Britannica School. So that can be a really helpful resource to be able to use in that way. And now what I want to do is I do want to pop over to Britannica Escolar, which is escolar.eb.com. You're going to see this looks very similar to what we were just looking at with Britannica School in terms of the layout. But let's go ahead and do a search here at the elementary level. So similar to what we were seeing with Britannica School, I can go and move between the two levels. I also have my content type up here. So I have my images and videos. Let's take a peek into the California article here. And similar to what you were seeing at Britannica School, we're looking at the elementary level. So the information is chunked for that younger audience. That read aloud is prominently displayed, but you still have all those same other features that I was showing you. You can get those automatic citations. You can easily share to Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or be able to print them. But this, once again, is written in Spanish by our Spanish editorial team. And another thing that's important to know is that you can have these read aloud in Spanish, which I'm going to play for you right now.
California es el estado con mayor población de los Estados Unidos.
So as you can see, it walks you through the text just like the other one. If you go into our home page, what you're going to see is that you still have those browsing features. One thing I do like to highlight at the elementary section in Escolar, there's quite a robust set of activities in Spanish that you can play here as well. And then if we go over to the secondary section, you will see on this homepage some browsing features as well, but similar to what I was showing you at the homepage before with the other one is that you can see what articles have been updated. And then we also have a section if you're looking for the news in Spanish. This can be a great place to direct your students to because we have the news provided by BBC Mundo. So some really great resources that are here for you to be able to use. And then lastly, I just want to talk about that we do also offer a free Chrome or Microsoft Edge extension for Britannica School users that you can download called Britannica School Insights. What's really great about that is I can go to, I'm going to show you here in Google, but it will work the same in either way. But if I go in and do my search on California, what it will do is it'll bring Britannica School content to the top of your search results page. And so you can then easily have a reminder that you have access to this resource that you can choose to go to and use and related to your different searches that you do on Google, or if you do it on Microsoft Edge as well. And you just go to your Google Chrome or Edge store to be able to download those for free. And then the last thing I do want to talk about is if you go to our BritannicaLearn.com website, there's a wealth of great resources that are here for you. You go into the resource section. And in the resource section here, you will have a few things that are here. One is our Britannica School activities that are updated. We have new ones each month. So for example, we're celebrating Earth Day. So if you're looking for some activities and resource packs centered around celebrating Earth Day with your students, you can go in and find that there. But if you go into our assets library as well, and then you go into our all products section and select, for example, Britannica School, you will find all sorts of great resources to support you, things like scavenger hunts, graphic organizers that are editable PDFs for you to be able to use, some strategy cards, and even things like logos or search boxes that you can add to a library page, as well as some additional videos to support you as well. So I highly recommend going and checking out some of those things. I'm going to put my information once again on the screen for you. So once again, I am Laurel Green. I'm one of the education consultants. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. It's lgreen@ev.com, but go and explore the resource. These are your tax dollars at work. Please spread the word and make sure that people know that we have access to these wonderful resources to use in California. Thank you so much and have a great day.
And I'm going to see if there's any questions that came in that we need answered here. Looks like you guys are busy answering each other's questions. So will the county library be subscribing to a new language app? It looks like our Stan County team replied to that. They're not sure quite yet, but they will be. They are reviewing stuff and they'll be posting resources. We've got information on that Mohai librarian posted here. And we see here, we don't see the link posted in the chat. So let me go ahead and post that one more time. You might need to switch over to the published view. For that Q&A tab at the top, there's private, which is just your Q&As. There's also a public tab up there at the top. Go ahead and switch over to that. It should say public or published, and that will let you see any content that's been published, and the link should be available there. Perfect. Glad you found it. And always, thank you very much for attending and bearing with us on our presenter tech issues here. I know Laurel had great content. She's sorry she couldn't join us today, but please do stay tuned for that recording. And with that, I'll see if my team has any final thoughts they want to share before we end the event.
Alexandra.
Yes, Matthew.
I have just one more item to share with everyone. Just a reminder that built within Schoology for research papers, essays that students are turning in, we have Turnitin built within Schoology. So teachers can create Turnitin assignments, students can submit them, and that will help with the feedback for teachers as they're reviewing and grading those papers for originality. It also does grammar checks as well, but that's another great resource for teachers to use with their students with research type projects.
Perfect. Thank you, Matthew. Turnitin is a fabulous resource right within Schoology, and it does grade pass back. So no separate way to sync your grades. It's all right there within Schoology. All right, well, thank you again. I'm going to go ahead and post that link one more time just to make sure we all have access to it. Please fill out that attendance form. Stay tuned for a follow-up email from me tomorrow morning. And it looks like that recording is just now coming through, so you'll definitely have access to that tomorrow morning. All right, thank you again for attending and bearing with us. I'm going to go ahead and formally end the event now. I hope you all have a great afternoon, and I hope you're all inspired to go look at these resources and encourage your students to look at them as well. Thank you.